So I kind of wanted to talk, I think mostly, obviously, about woke culture because that's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like a trending thing and it's kind of more, I don't know, it's just more prevalent to understand just in our culture because of how mainstream it's gotten. But, and just, I don't know. I guess it's just kind of not necessarily bothered me, but it has affected me and what I personally do as far as being like a content creator one and just in my personal life. Usually I honestly wouldn't care. You really honestly wouldn't care what other people do in their life until it starts affecting my life. And I would love to say that pop culture and all that stuff doesn't affect my personal life, but it does in a way, and not directly, it's usually more indirect. However, when you start making these connections and understanding the way our culture works, or at least trying to understand it, because it's a very complicated topic, it's just, it affects our daily lives in ways that we don't really see right away. One can be stress, but that's more of like a personal thing anyway, so that one really doesn't count. But it can cause like unnecessary stress when like that stuff's like constantly in your face, like when you're just going to like sources of entertainment and like political statements are just there constantly in your face and you're just really there to have a good time, but it just kind of gets like the vibe and just the direction that the content went because it was meant to be political and make a statement. And at some point, things just become a little like way too cynical, and we start to lose our, I don't know, just our views in life just become a little too strong. And it doesn't even matter that other people have strong views or anything like that. Like, what I mean is, like, I totally understand like wanting to stick up for stuff and change things, but at some point you just, the only thing you're really doing is causing unnecessary stress and you're not actually changing anything. You're just putting your point of view in somebody's face 24/7, which, you know, we can all be guilty of that. I know I'm guilty of that because I do become a little like too cynical, especially lately with all the craziness going on and just kind of the whole COVID situation. Like, I tried to stay away from it as much as I possibly could, but it, no matter what, it affected my personal life because of my views and wanting to be free and have a voice and be able to have that freedom of having a different perspective, because that's something that's very important, like here on earth and just in general. Like a very good important factor of life is having a different perspective, so there's an opportunity to understand a situation better, to have interaction with other people and community and communication. However, I don't know, with the culture that we have, it's just kind of been really damaged. So with the whole cancel culture and just political vibe that we have lately, like life at some point just becomes like way too cynical. And honestly, I get people's perspective about just stay away from it, don't watch it, and it'll go away, but that's not how problems work. Like, you don't ignore your problem and think that it's just gonna go away somehow. Life just doesn't work that way. You have to interact with your problem and you have to solve it because you're given a brain, you're given energy, you're given this physical vessel to change things. And honestly, stress is just, it's personally, I don't know. I know that there's debate, you could argue in a situation, some situations might be meant for fighting. I don't know. I don't really have that perspective though, so I wouldn't understand it. I know that we have, you know, vessels and sources to protect ourselves. Like there's self-defense, which is very important, because you don't know when somebody else will want to attack you or something like that, because that does randomly happen. What, like, my point is I'm getting a little off topic. My point is that you can win in a situation by trying to understand the situation and solve your problem from the bottom up. So, I know it's an unfortunate truth, but you can't just try to, change things directly by yelling about them and just trying to be fierce. Like, nobody, like, there's some people that will get that vibe. They will, don't get me wrong, but, like, if you want people to truly understand what you're saying and what your view is and why you're so concerned about something, at some point you have to sit down, you have to relax, and you have to get the other side of your view, whoever that is or whatever that is. Like, you have to get them to understand, and you have to also reciprocate. No matter what you actually believe, you have to reciprocate and truly take in what they're saying and try to meet some middle ground. Now, maybe that doesn't exist. Maybe that's some fairy tale. Probably is. Because life's a paradox. And there's always going to be conflict. Because that's, I don't know, it's just a weird thing about the world. Because, I mean, we learn through conflict. Conflict creates knowledge and wisdom. Because wisdom and knowledge is ever changing. Always, there's a basic for it, but it's like, there's always, life is always changing, life is always evolving, so there's always a point of view that can be kind of, changed through experience or whatever. My point is, I keep saying that what my point is about this video. It's just, I don't know, it's like at some point we have to separate these things. Like, life is about balance, and like the best way to really balance out your mind is to have this, not just energy barriers, but understanding that, one, life's not always going to work out for you, so at some point you do just have to ignore that stuff. But at some point, there are things that you do have to do and interact with in order to change things, because, interaction, vocalizing your perspective, it gets people to understand what you have to say. But you have to do that smallly. You can't just, I mean, maybe having that anger and having that aggression will really matter for that moment. Like, that adrenaline rush and everything, like, that will get you going for that moment, but it won't last, you know what I mean? Like, it won't actually, like, make long-term changes. Like, that takes, like, groundwork and getting in the middle and getting your hands dirty and trying to actually work with something. Not just yelling and arguing with somebody. That doesn't get anywhere. I mean, I would love to know how that would ever get you anywhere, but I just don't. I just don't believe it. That's my point of view, though. It's just kind of a waste of time. And don't get me wrong, I find myself guilty of doing it all the time, like, especially, like, online. Of which I've toned down over the years. I've learned to, like, step away from that. Except for with all this COVID stuff, it was kind of my only place to have a voice was online, since the world was really crazy, and especially in where I was. But woke culture, it's getting so bad where it's just, it's hitting our video games, it's hitting our movies, and just, like, all forms of entertainment is just kind of washed over with political statements and just trying to divide everyone. And like, I don't know, I think the whole division thing is actually kind of, I don't know, illusion at some point too, because, you know, no matter what we argue about online or at some rally, like, we still go grocery shopping with each other, like, we still go to the beach with each other. We don't know that, you know, unless we're wearing, like, I don't know, a Trump hat or, you know, some Biden flag or something, like, nobody's really gonna know what our political views are. But you've probably smiled through people who have really crazy perspectives and have done really crazy ish in their life and have no idea about it. Like, people have these secret lives that they keep from other people, period. Like, that's just like a normal thing that we do. Is, I mean, a little bit of that can be, I don't know, maybe harmful, but that's not the point of this video. Like, you're always gonna be around somebody that has a different perspective and a different point of view. So, like, getting angry and being cynical all the time doesn't really get you anywhere besides, you know, angry and frustrated and keep you in that state of mind 24/7, which is, you know, takes the enjoyment and the fulfillment of life away. I mean, at some point it does give us jobs, like, it allows us to make content and stuff, so that's cool. It gives us something to think about and view and try to understand, but, you know, at some point it just becomes a little much, and I know, personally, I'm going to be, like, kind of stepping away from all the politics and mainstream stuff. However, I still do want to make impact, so that's why I'm going to be making more content with my YouTube channel, and probably in other areas too, because I do, like, groups and stuff. But, like, that's my point. Like, if you're just sitting there frustrated and, you know, arguing with people online all the time, which I do too, don't get me wrong, because, you know, some of this stuff does frustrate me, but, you know, I try my best not to argue with people and more so put my, like, view and perspective out there and try to, you know, inform and not necessarily educate, but allow people to understand what my perspective is. Sometimes I do come off a little aggressive, and I'm trying to tone that down. I'm still trying to figure it out a little bit, just because this last few years have been really crazy. But I'm working on it, so, you know. But at some point we just have to have fun and learn to separate these things. Because, like, I've said this a few times in some of my other videos, at, like, some point, like, we all just really want one thing, and that's just the basic right to live and be around, which, you know, blindly we're given, and we're a lot more privileged. And I'm not just talking white privilege, because, yeah, anyway. But, you know, us in general as a whole society and as a universe are a lot more privileged than we believe and that we think. Yeah, there's a lot of shit, a lot of issues that we have and we still need to figure out, but, like, sitting here arguing with people and getting frustrated, it just wastes time and doesn't actually get anything done. So involvement does, like, interaction and community and understanding, you know, we gotta work up towards things. Like, things don't just happen overnight. You build from the ground up. That's how structures are built. Homes are built. You build up. So, I don't know. At some point, I feel like the whole just woke culture and cancel culture and just all of that, anything that comes out of mainstream media usually just has some ill intent behind it because there's money involved. Not always. but most of the time. So it's something to really question and to think about, and I do get frustrated myself when people just soak up the mainstream media narrative and don't really question or argue anything or try to, because I know nobody's an expert on anything, no matter what they try to claim to be, and it's hard to really know who to trust. But, like, trusting yourself is really important, so I totally respect that for people. But at some point, like, when, like, your belief systems are, like, like, I don't know. I guess, in a way, you could argue that I'm kind of projecting my own belief system by talking about my belief systems, so there's that. So it's something to, I don't know, I guess you could always be thinking about. It's just, I don't know, it just, like, at some point, maybe we just need to keep some of our belief systems to ourselves, or that also doesn't make sense, because knowledge is kind of carried through word of mouth, like, we learn and evolve with each other, so, I don't know. That one's kind of hard to say for me. Personally, I think everyone should have a belief system, because it's something that we're given, because we have, like, our brains and stuff, and honestly, I've always been kind of subconsciously driven by subconscious intuition. Like, life has always guided me to the right place, and I know nobody would really understand that besides me, because my life has been a DMT trip, bro. And I don't know, because, like, we're all just energy, it's hard to even understand if anybody's real, and if I could really even explain that perspective. Anyway, but, it's, like, it's cool to have a belief system. It's really essential and important to have a belief system as an individual, because that's what we're given, and it goes into self and believing in self, because that's, like, self-love is when you believe in yourself and trust in yourself, even when you're in bad situations, just knowing and trusting that, something positive will come out of a bad situation, like you're gonna learn something, or something positive will happen afterward, because, sometimes I feel like I'm in a bad situation and it gets better without me realizing it. So it's just like, okay, I feel like it's constantly, maybe I'm kind of talking to myself right now too, so here we go. But, like, I feel like it's constantly putting us in a state of mind where we're always fighting and arguing and just in some type of battle, mainly with ourselves, because when we're arguing with other people, we're actually arguing with ourselves, whether we know that or believe that at all. But, like, it goes along with, like, karma. Like, if you believe in karma, which I honestly don't understand how you couldn't, because there's divine timing for everything. That maybe karma's not really I don't know, maybe karma doesn't, like, work exactly the way we wanted to, maybe. Because you could argue, there's, like, serial killers and rapists and shit that get away free, and I won't even really talk about dark stuff, but, like, Bill Cosby was just freed. So it's, maybe we should constantly be arguing and fighting for our point of views. See, now I'm thinking about it. I don't know. It's a tough one for me, but maybe if we take time out of our personal life to step away from, like, all of this stuff in general, because at some point we watch too much TV we take in too much mainstream stuff anyway and what's trending, and we don't like focus on ourselves at all. So maybe it's a good thing that it's kind of keeping me, or it's making me want to stay away from mainstream stuff. But at the same time, I kind of want to be involved because, you know, I want to have like a life, and that's kind of how you have a life, is by being involved in the world. So you can't really just isolate yourself and expect, you know, the world to work out for you either, because, you know, you go to some house in the middle of the woods somewhere, and I mean, unless you got like really cool survival skills and that's just your thing, you want to be away from everybody. That's cool too. Totally get that. But like, I don't know, like I personally have goals as, you know, money wise, and wanting to make an impact in the world around me, because I personally like doing things in the world. I like interacting with other people and just being able to go to restaurants and museums and experiencing the world. I like doing that, so I feel like I should have that right. So at some point, you have to understand that you have to do the dirty work and have to be involved if those are the things that you want. Like when you want something out of life, you have to go for it, you know? You can't just sit around. So I guess that's my thing too. It's why I kind of get in these frustrating loops sometimes, which I am trying to stay away from. But that's the whole point of this video, about the whole woke culture. Because an example is like Sailor Moon. I really like Sailor Moon, but somebody brought up that it was like whitewashed and everything. And I don't know, I brought up that the fact that it was like written by a Japanese woman and stuff, and there was a lot of other really weird things, like, you know, like sibling relations and stuff in the original anime. So it's like, I don't know, you can't really just say that it was whitewashed. So that's why, you know, my point is, when it starts involving things that you like as a source of entertainment, and, you know, you get enjoyment from that thing, you shouldn't have to dislike something that you liked because somebody else changed it. That's my thing. I guess you can't really change that either because it's reality. But it's like, I don't know, the whole world's getting so cynical. It's so hard to not want to speak up about stuff because, you know, I'm just here for entertainment sometimes. And I know that people think that their perspectives and stuff are very different than other people, but they usually aren't. I mean, like, the foundation of life and what people really, really want is to just have the freedom to do the things that they want. Which, I don't know, I guess, like I've said, sometimes it involves other people. And that's where life gets complicated. So that's my point, though, is that it is complicated. It's not just so simple. Like, you can't act like your actions don't affect other people, because they do. Like, every cause has, what is it, cause and effect? Every cause has an effect? Is that? I feel like that's not how to say. I'm not good with sayings, I'm sorry. But that's, my point is like, when you interact with the world, like, the things you do, maybe they're not extremely impactful, but they do, you know, change the environment around you. So I don't know, to sit there and just act like what you do in your daily life doesn't affect other people, that's cool. I mean, I get that you don't really give a crap, but that's, I mean, I don't know, it's selfish. And I don't know, if you like, you know, took it some more time to think about children and how those children will eventually be people and how they soak up their environment, and that's like the prime time And if you understand, like, like a big one too is like the generation gap. Is it? I'm not good with the whole generation thing either. I think it's Gen X, or is it Gen Y? And millennials? I'm not quite sure. Somebody can correct me on that. I hope y'all know what I'm talking about. But like there's like a huge generation gap in this, like especially like with technology and stuff. And even with people younger than me, like were like I grew up where technology was starting to get more advanced and stuff. And some people were just born into like advanced technology, and that's all they know is what they take in. You know what I mean? So at some point you have to understand, like, even though you're not thinking about the future, like it will affect the future. Like multitudes of people will have this perspective and this view that's just kind of obtained from other people. And if that's like really your thing, then okay, go for it. But like, I don't know, it's just really important that we have like our individuality, and that we understand that our choices affect other people. Like another really, I think I said this earlier today, on Facebook or something. No, I think I was talking to somebody, but like I was talking about like the whole hurt people thing is like really, it's just a really toxic point of view, and it's a toxic perspective. Personally, because I don't know, I'm not gonna say that I'm perfect, because I've definitely I cheated on my husband. I didn't cheat on I cheated on my husband. I told somebody else that I loved him when I was still with him. I'm grown enough to admit that. But here I go trying to justify. I didn't sleep with the guy, but my point is, I did still do something wrong. And you have to admit when you're wrong about stuff too in life. So it's like, I don't know, with this whole culture, it just becomes very prideful, and like it's almost like you're taking your perspective and believing so strongly that you are correct. And at some point too, you also have to humble yourself and understand that you're wrong in some level, in some form. Like somebody else has a different perspective. Life is really complicated though, and I can understand why people want to take the simple route, but it's not that hard to take, the self-awareness route. Like that's literally all it takes too, is just, you can use alchemy to do it, which is really cool, because why I like alchemy so much. I'm not like a firm believer in alchemy, because there's some things that are like, there's different forms of alchemy or whatever, but like, it can get you to that mindset of self where you're more self-aware, because that's the whole point of this like whole awakening process too, is becoming self-aware of your actions, and that they have effect on yourself, your mind, your body, your soul, and the people around you. Like when the whole hurt people thing, like that's not true. Like I've been hurt over and over again in life, and I've always had a good heart. And at some point, I don't know, I think it was me and the universe, which is also me, trying to teach me to be a grown human, like, and to grow up, and to like not let the world walk all over me, because that's what I used to do when I was younger. I would just let the world walk all over me and never speak up. And my throat chakra was really blocked. I didn't really ever speak up for myself, ever. So it's like, I don't know, maybe it was a way to kind of pressure myself into speaking up, and to, well, okay, that's kind of a more personal thing, but the whole like hurt people thing, like just because you're hurt doesn't mean you have to hurt other people. You can at some point become self-aware and understand that, you know, that person was toxic and that you in that situation did nothing wrong. Maybe y'all's personality types didn't like fit with each other or something, but like you didn't personally do anything wrong in that situation. And at some point you have to like kind of sit down and like meditate and think about stuff. I'm going on a more personal type of thing, but like understanding even like in personal situations, not just, you know, not even just the bigger picture, like in smaller situations too, like in your personal interactive life, like family and friends and stuff. Like at some point you have to kind of just think about things and understand that when you are usually more subconsciously more self-aware than you believe, and you're teaching yourself subconsciously something, we don't really understand the way energy works until we learn how energy works. But like this is a much longer video than I expected, I'm sorry. When you look at like, okay, I'm gonna zoom out and I'm gonna zoom in. When you look at the bigger picture and you understand how karma and the whole mirror reality thing works, you can understand that things are reflective and not necessarily like as like your external world is reflective of like, and I learned this actually on TikTok today too, is not that the world outside of you is reflective of you internally, it's reflective of the things that you accept. So what you'll understand is this, like you're in a situation, not necessarily, don't even look at it as a situation, look at it as a learning experience. That's the healthiest way to view it, because, you know, everything is interaction. We're still interacting with the people that we love, even though we may not agree with everything they say. You know, you're still interacting with people that you love, and, you know, you have to at some point understand the like energy barriers, understanding that an energy barrier is not always going to work out for you, because there's things going on in the world that we don't see. Those things don't honestly always like affect us personally too. So you have to like, you know, understand what to allow, what to take in, and what to not really worry about. And when, I don't know, my thing too is I wonder honestly, because I'm personally gonna try this, is to take in less of the outside world and just see where, you know, see where it gets me mentally, because I know it's gonna give me a clearer head when I stop worrying about the outside world, because usually I do. No, in the past I didn't have a clear head. Now I have a clear head with all the DMT and awakening and stuff that I went through. But I'm just trying to, I want to take in less of the outside world and see where exactly that gets me on, you know, monetary wise. You know what, maybe I won't, because it always gives me something to think about, perspective. I don't really like shutting out the outside world. I mean, I guess I could to an extent. There's certain things that I'm going to shut out for sure, like you know, arguing and all of that online stuff that people do all the time and all of that stuff. Like I'll still look for certain things and what's going on in the world, but and try to stay involved in stuff. But like, I'm one person. There's multitudes of people. And the other thing that you have to understand, because I do have my things about alchemy, but I do strongly believe in like karmic effect, or I guess again the way energy works, not necessarily karma, but energy. Like, when we do certain things, it carries through word of mouth in a way, through the subconscious, even, like, as energy, and it will carry on to somebody else and keep carrying on and keep carrying on and keep carrying on, and it just grows and grows and grows and grows. And that's how things work in the world. Like, it's not just mainstream media. That's not the only power in the world. I can promise you that. I've been on the other side of the bush. Like, and honestly, with all the stuff they've been doing too, with all this woke culture too, has kind of been damaging their bank accounts anyway. So it's kind of a win-win. We get content to create, and they kind of, hurt themselves and their bank accounts. So, I don't know. It kind of sucks because, there's people involved that have jobs and stuff. But, I don't know. Just shoving your point of view down somebody else's throat is just kind of ridiculous. At some point, we just have to live with each other and understand that we're not going to change somebody else, and we shouldn't want to change somebody else because that's just narcissistic. But, like, that's my other thing about alchemy, why I like it. It's a lot more freeing. It's a lot more mind freeing. Like, yeah, there's specific things about alchemy for sure, and at some point it does become a belief system, of course, but everything is a belief system because we're believing what we see. I don't think you should really do that, though, because, man, life's an acid trip. Anyway, but, that's my point. I hope I've rambled enough about woke culture and just why I think at some point we just gotta take a break but still be involved. I hope that wasn't too paradoxical. That's not a word. Too much of a paradox. But, at some point we just have to enjoy life and understand that we are involved in life at all times. But as alchemists, if you do strongly believe in that stuff, because, I don't know, maybe I do believe in alchemy a lot more than I'd like to admit. So I guess it is a belief system, whatever. I honestly don't mind it. It is new age and stuff, but it's honestly what I connect with because it woke me up and kind of was part of what I had with my DMT experience. I experienced with alchemy. But alchemy is all about self again, so. I brought up alchemy because it kind of, like, if you use alchemy, I'm sorry, I'm, like, quiet because there's a wasp around me. There's, this strong connection with alchemy and self, so that's why I bring it up with, like, the whole woke culture and cancel culture and all that mainstream narrative stuff. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it off here because my neighbor's vacuuming, mowing the lawn. Man, I'm from New Mexico. We don't have lawns where I'm from. But, okay, I'm gonna wrap up my point. Like, alchemy involves self, and if you use alchemy and learn to use alchemy to block out negative energy and stuff, at some point you won't really need to worry about the outside world, but you'll still have to understand that you're involved with it in a way. So that's why I enjoy it and why I like to study alchemy, because I'm definitely not an alchemist, or an alchemy expert. But I'd like to say that I'm an expert in my own life, because I'm always wrong. Which gives me this, okay, sorry, I am rambling. But it gives me this freedom to explore when I understand that I'm not an expert and I am the expert at the same time. That's where self-trust and self-intuition comes from, though. And kind of my whole point about trusting yourself over other people, but understanding that you should stay humble. I hope this all makes sense. I hope it's not too loud right now. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna end it. Hope you guys enjoyed my rambling about woke culture, alchemy, protecting your own energy, but still being involved with the world through communication, understanding, and getting involved. Hope you guys have a good day and a good weekend as well. Peace. Bye.